Hello, friends. The message that I would like to present today is this. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you, not a thing. I promise you. I promise you. There is nothing wrong with you. Not a thing. Allow me to explain. We live in a world, we live in a culture that is sick. And this is not a judgment. This is a diagnosis. Our culture has a sickness. And we, living in this world, moving through this culture, being part of it, we contract this sickness. And then we look at ourselves, we feel into ourselves, and we feel something is not right. And then oftentimes we turn it in on ourselves and we say, well, it must mean something is wrong with me. Otherwise, why would I feel this way? No. There is nothing wrong with you. Nothing. Not one thing. I promise you. I promise you. When I speak of our culture's sickness, allow me to elaborate on that idea a little bit. Now, what is culture? Culture is an overlay that humanity has created, divined, brought about, that is placed upon pure wild nature. So animals can't be said to have culture per se. Maybe there's some of that going on in some of the more intelligent life forms, but nowhere near what humanity has tapped into and crafted and created. So it's this overlay that we have built, we've engineered to be laid upon wild nature. And it serves many important functions. The main important function that culture serves is it is the storehouse, it's the library for the knowledge that humanity has amassed throughout our time existing and figuring out how to live and exist on this planet. The culture serves as this great library that we have been able to implant the great knowledge and understandings that we have been able to discern over time by means of writing, orating, storytelling, art, all of these different aspects, infrastructure. And so this is the important purpose that culture serves. Now, where culture fails us is that it stultifies, it rigidifies, it lags behind, and so it carries many unhelpful, if not downright damaging features beyond their usefulness. And this is the nature of culture. Its tendency is to rigidify. And at every moment, there's a conversation going on between human beings and the culture. And we both serve the dual role as student and teacher at the same time. So in other words, I have been born into this culture, and I'll step to the side to say for a moment that when I speak of this culture or our culture. I'm not talking about a culture that is bounded to any particular place or peoples. I'm talking about the global overculture that has insinuated itself into our global system, and which reaches to pretty much all corners of the globe. Certainly there are some places that are more or less untouched by it. But if you're watching this video, then you're not part of any of those cultures. I'm talking about the global overculture. So, this culture has contracted a sickness, and it is constantly teaching us how to be, especially in the digital age, in the internet age, where we are literally being reflected images of ourselves all the time, day in and day out. And we have unparalleled access to the cutting edge of what is transpiring in the culture. And so it's constantly teaching us, and especially in the age of social media, in which we have these feeds that are constantly giving us the up to the moment understanding, the transmission of what the culture is. And we're constantly hooked up to it. And so we are students. And what the teacher is teaching in a lot of ways is ultimately anti-human. Anti-human. And I'll speak more about that, what I mean by that. However, it's a dual relationship. So at the same time as I am the student, I am sitting in the classroom of culture, I am also the teacher of the culture. It is learning from each of us how to be. It is becoming what we do. The culture becomes what we do while we're being informed by what the culture is. So it's constantly feeding back and feeding into itself and feeding forward. So we exist in this world where our culture is sick. And I am sure I don't have to explain myself, but I will. And when I say I'm sure I don't have to, it's because I know you feel it too. I know you feel it too. This sense that something is wrong. It's not how it should be. And we are constantly fed these grisly, inhuman reflections. And again, we intake those and we feel that something's wrong. And so many of us come to the conclusion that, oh, it must be me. There must be something wrong with me. If only I could fix what's wrong with me, I wouldn't feel this way. No. It is not you. It is not you. It is the world that we live in. That our human psychology is not adapted to existing in. We're not adapted to constantly being shown information at such a fast-paced rate, day in and day out, from the moment we open our eyes till the moment we close our eyes, and sometimes even while we sleep. The TV being on in the background. This is the world we find ourselves in. And we have these structures that we built, and we can look at the political sphere, how that is a complete embarrassment to humanity, a complete embarrassment to humanity, that we exalt to the positions of leadership these people who perhaps at some point have great intentions, and perhaps many don't and are just striving after the power and the access and the wealth, the recognition, the accolades, the fame. But again, the system, the culture, it is part of us. And so many people come in with the best intentions and they get churned into what they're expected to be, what the culture tells them they need to be. So the culture is constantly telling us what we need to be. And in the social media age, it's telling us we need to be immaculately beautiful to the point of going in and editing our appearances. It tells us that we can't possibly show any creases or cracks or even the sheen of true vulnerability, because we will get pounced upon if we do. And it tells us that this paradoxical message that everything's okay and you should be afraid. And it promotes this cognitive dissonance that we all have to live amongst. That everything's okay, everything's working as it should. Don't look too deeply into things. Don't worry about what is going on behind closed doors. Don't worry about what's transpiring right in front of your faces. Everything's working as it should. And don't get too comfortable. Be afraid. The destruction of everything is right around the corner. And so the conspiratorial mind says, oh, this is what people in power want for us, is to be in this docile state that is created by living amongst this great cognitive dissonance. And maybe that's true. Probably is true. I don't know. I don't know what these people actually want in their hearts. But these messages, this is what I'm saying, is that these messages are larger than any individual, that are larger than any group, that are larger than any entity, that are deeper, that run oceans deep, and we see the waves that crash onto the sand. But we don't see the churning of the oceans of this millennia-long story of culture that has a life of its own and is constantly telling us who we are and how we should be. And so with this, from me, is an invitation to all of us to relinquish blame, actually. To relinquish blame. Because we are all caught up in this same stormy sea. And some of us maybe can see more clearly than others, hopefully, and those who can, hopefully, are standing up to help guide us. And I know there are people out there who are doing that. And many of us are just completely caught up in it. And don't even have the the moment to stop and take a breath and assess, because we're constantly in this churn of the cultural message that you have to kill yourself being productive so that you can retire one day and stop being productive. Hopefully, if you make it that far. It's inhuman. It's inhuman. And so our task is to be the responsible teacher. And, you know, a teacher that is worth his or her salt knows the material front and back, has gone over it a million times, is up on the current trends, and can speak just off the cuff about any aspect of it, answer any question that a student may have, and including saying the limits of their knowledge. And that, you know, that's a good question. I'll get back to you on that, rather than pretending like they know everything. So these are some attributes of a great teacher. So each of us is the teacher of the culture. We all serve that role. So if I am sitting and just mindlessly scrolling my phone for 5 or 6 hours a day, I am communicating to the culture that this is how I think the world should be. I'm saying this is what I want. And this is what I want for everybody. That's what I'm communicating when I do that. When I allow the autoplay videos on YouTube or Netflix or what have you to just run and run while I'm scrolling my phone at the same time, I'm communicating, I'm teaching the culture, this is what I want. This is how I want everything to be. So, can we pick up the responsibility that is ours, which is to be an excellent teacher, so that we can teach the culture to be pro-human rather than anti-human, so that it can continue to teach us and to teach our children how to be in a way that is true, in a way that acknowledges and nourishes the human spirit, in a way that doesn't create a false hierarchy of imagined priorities that don't serve anybody. Because anything that is anti-human, by definition, serves nobody. So why are we living in this world, in this sick culture, and allowing it to teach us that there's something wrong with us? We're allowing it by not being the good teacher that we need to be. And it's on every one of us, because the culture is made up of every single individual who lives in it, which is the entire world. So this is my invitation. Can we pick up the responsibility that is ours and not just lay back in whataboutism and acting like it's everyone else's problem but my own, or that, oh, it's too big, I couldn't possibly do anything to change things, or that, oh, it doesn't matter anyway, we're all gonna die, or that the world is ending imminently due to any number of civilization destroying reasons. So I'm not going to get off my seat. Can we escape from these false narratives and enter into a way of being that is truly taking responsibility for our role, each of our individual roles as stewards of everything, of everything? And what is the culture that I want to see? Okay, I'm going to live that so that the culture becomes that. We all have this power to do this. It is innately in us by virtue of being in this world. We all have this power. And it's accessed through responsibility. And that's just how it is. We tend our little part of the garden and watch as a beautiful harvest comes in that will nourish us, that will provide for generations to come. Watch. We can do this. We can actually transform this sick culture from this anti-human veneer that tells us, oh, it's okay, but you have to be perfect, and you better not actually show any vulnerability, because if you do, you're going to get destroyed. And actually, everything's your fault anyway, and self-loathing is just the way to be. No, 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 no. There is nothing wrong with you. Not a single thing. Your human spirit is true. It's pure. All of this edifice that we've created and giving due to what's due. We have created many beautiful things and amassed much incredible knowledge. And we have this beautiful library, but we have lost our way. So please help us. Please help us find our way. And you can. And I know you can. Thank you.